Your best fight will be the fight you prevented. Often, people ask martial artists what their best fight was. And not always, because I don't know every martial artist, I want to keep it real here, but often the martial artist will warn you that the best fight he had was the fight he prevented. And often they even state this to you before you begin with your martial arts class. That the best fight is the fight you prevent. So the best thing is to just walk away and avoid bad situations altogether. Now, some people are quite disappointed when they hear this, because they expect to hear things as, well, my best fight was when the guy was looking angry at me and he came on to me, I gave him a kick, a kung fu kick, man, he fell to the ground. Man, it was so glorious. Or some people think that your best fight is that you just walk in and you make a few moves with your hand, someone is knocked out on the ground. People tend to look for sensational horror stories when it comes to fights. First of all, there's nothing glorious about violence, that's one thing. There's nothing honorable about self-destructive activities, absolutely not. But people think it's entertaining and fascinating to hear about war stories. How you knock someone out and put someone in their place and all of that. Now, let's forget about the streets and the martial arts. Also, when it comes to the spiritual, a lot of people have this attitude. They often go to those deliverance ministries, and the type of pastor they often listen to is the pastor who comes with war stories. How they fought the kingdom of darkness, how they fought principalities and higher up demons, all of that. Now, I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but listen. We shouldn't even have demons on our mind unless it's necessary, because demons are nothing relevant. Now, they're there, they're active, and they're operating against us, and they're operating to keep the human species in a state of anxiety. So yes, the relevancy they have is that they are part of the problem that Christ solved. Listen, demons are part of the problem that Christ solved. So we who are in Christ, we walk in the solution. So when we talk about evil spirits, it's not based on fascination or fright towards the demons, but it's based on the victory of Christ. And based on that mindset, you can see through Satan's devices. You can see through the paranormal. And once you see through the paranormal, you are able to anticipate Satan's moves. You are able now to anticipate the violence of the world. And by doing that, you're able to bypass and overrule the violence of the world altogether. And by doing that, you are both left unharmed, and there's no collateral damage on other people in the process. Because the moment it comes to a spiritual fight, there is going to be collateral damage somewhere. If there's retaliation against you, that retaliation will spill over to the lives of other people, and other people will also be harmed by it. Now, the retaliation is against you. You are not responsible for the retaliation because you're not the one retaliating. Okay? But the retaliation is against you, but the retaliation also affects other people. So if you're able to bypass or shut down the retaliation even before it begins, that's more glorious. Now, if you end up in sudden retaliation where things overwhelm you and you walk by faith and you overcome it, now that's glorious. I will give that my Father glory also. But it shouldn't be our purpose to look for exotic fights with demons. Absolutely not. The reason I'm talking about this in this video is because I see when I go to the comment sections on many of those videos of those deliverance ministries that people are so into those exotic fights with demons. No, absolutely not. Where did you find Christ having exotic fights with demons? Where did you find the apostles having exotic fights with demons? Look, It's one thing to tell of how glorious it was when you overcame retaliation. It's one thing to tell how glorious it was when you overcame the violence of the world, that something overcame you. That's one thing. But to actually rely on the war stories of deliverance ministers, that's idolatry and that's dangerous. Because look, what those deliverance ministers often don't tell you is that many of those fights never happened. Those are stories they make up to tell you to buy their products and to pay tithes and offerings. Even in the streets, apart from the spiritual, these things happen. You have people out there who claim to be gangsters, who claim to be deeply involved in the streets, and they make up street stories of how they knocked someone's ass, or how they stole drugs, or how they did all those very criminal stuff. And later you figure out that they were having a part-time job all along. They made it all up. But they got a huge following. And the people in that huge following will really believe that this individual is his street veteran, this gangster veteran. So they think that they're going to imitate their hero, the street veteran. And when they imitate the guy, they end up in real dangerous situations that they can't handle, and they either end up dying or they end up doing stuff that causes them to go to jail. And if they don't die and they don't go to jail, they may end up in a hospital. And even if they don't end up in a hospital, they may have psychological damage that they need to recover from, like PTSD. So people that are so into the martial arts, they are warned that your best fight is a fight you prevented. I mean, just think about it. Let's say you are at a cafeteria, okay? And there's some people looking angry at you. And you think, who does people think they are? Looking so angry at me. You just sit there and eat your stuff. Then one day, on the street, one of those guys kind of look angry at you. And you also stare at them, thinking, what's up? Now, by doing that, now they feel threatened because you confront them, and now they come and begin to cuss you out and all of that. And you think, I'm not going to allow people to disrespect me. So I'm going to call them out on what they were saying. And what's going to happen now? Now they're going to escalate into a physical fight. And let's say now you knock them all out. Okay. If they survive, you now will have a reputation of a dangerous man in the streets, and people are going to avoid you. And people will say, whoa, that's glorious. They're avoiding you because no, you can beat their ass. But okay, what if someone becomes terrified of you because you have this reputation of beating people's ass, and he decides, you know what? I'm not going to look for a fight. I'm going to pick up a gun. I'm going to pick up a leverage. So next time they come around, or next time your opponents come around, but this time they have a gun with them. What are you going to do now? Is your war story of beating their ass worth it being shot? But okay, let's say now that you beat their ass when they were fighting you in a very glorious way. You beat 5 guys on your own, smacking them all down. And what if one of them hit their head against the concrete when they fall to the ground, and several weeks later they die in an hospital? Now, when the police finds out that they were in a street fight and you were the one beating their ass, the prosecutor may decide to prosecute you. And even if the judge would decide it was self-defense, now you are associated with this scandal. And this scandal will come up anytime you look for a job or anytime you're about to open your business. And here's the thing, this scandal is recorded, it's documented. So if you have your career or you have your family years or decades later, and someone wants to conduct a smear campaign, they can pick up this case of you killing this guy in a street fight. Now, the people decades later don't know the context, that they were attacking you and you only defended yourself. So when people come out with this receipt of you killing a guy in a street fight, people are not going to look for the context, saying, okay, but what really happened? Was he defending himself? People just hear that this well-established guy used to be involved in a street fight when younger. And suddenly your reputation is gone. Suddenly you can lose your job, or you can lose your business. If you have a marriage, your marriage may come under a lot of pressure because of all the smear campaigns. And even if later people find out, oh, you were just defending yourself, it already harmed you. You lost some relationships because of it. But what if now you're at the cafeteria and people look angry at you, and you just decide just to smile and be friendly, and you just walk out peacefully, and you don't go to the cafeteria anymore? Now, that is far better, because now there are no side effects that you have to consider later in life. But if you are very hard and very direct, and you put people in their place and confront them and demand validation from them, yes, if you succeed, you have to deal with side effects. And that's only if you succeed. Because what if one of them decides to, you know what, you've beat our behind, you've won the street fight, but we are upset, so we're going to press charges against you. Then even if you would win the charges, again, you will have to pay the legal fees. And if the judge decides, you know what, you went too far, you could have just walked away, you willfully engaged fighting behavior, which is against the law, you can go to prison, you can get a criminal record. Now, find a way to get rid of a criminal record. It can happen, but it's going to take a while. And it may cost you a lot of money, often money you don't have. And what if you beat their ass, so-called, but later on, someone comes for revenge? Maybe a cousin, or maybe someone that may be unrelated to the event, and they do it in such a way that you don't expect. And here's the thing, in those martial arts classes, all those fights are staged. It's all a game, and there are rules in it. In the streets out there, when someone attacks you, there are no rules. They attack you with a knife, with some rocks, or with some scissors, or with a gun. It's just fierce escalation to harm you. There are no rules, there is no time out, and there is no honor over there. So what you learn in those martial art classes cannot be practiced in real life out there. So again, the best fight is the fight you prevented. Now, I'm making this parallel with martial arts to teach you something about walking by faith. Yes, we will face tribulation. Christ said it. If you are a believer and you expect a smooth, easy existence, in the here and now, you are out of your mind. Because Christ told you, in the world you should have tribulation. But Christ said, be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. Christ gave us his peace so that we can walk in his peace, and in his peace we are powerful. Christ also said, don't let your heart be troubled. So it is possible to be troubled. But Christ said, don't let your heart be troubled. How do you do that? By operating in his peace. So if you are called to operate in Christ's peace, then the best thing to do is to shut down stressful and bad situations before they even happen. There will be retaliation against you. That's not your fault. It's going to happen. But be ahead of it so that when they happen, they don't even bother you and you don't even notice them. That is one of the greatest testimonies you can give. How you bypass it. Now look, it's also a great testimony if sudden violence occurred and miraculously you survived it. That's also glorious, but we shouldn't strive for such experiences. We should be wise as serpents and innocent as doves to bypass the violence and retaliation of the world in a practical way. Then we avoid collateral damage. Because listen, the moment controversy is unloaded against you, you have no choice but to fight it now, or to deal with the fight that's against you. And once that happens, that negative tension will drag other people in it. And if you win that fight, still there are going to be people who were harmed by the fight. And then you will have to deal with the people that will blame you for the collateral damage. Even though you did not cause the collateral damage, people will blame you still. You can prevent that. The best fight is the fight you prevented. So walk by faith, decree and declare, and don't wait till Satan makes a move. Be ahead of Satan. Be ahead of it. That also implies in daily life, if you notice that some people are kind of acting weird against you, move away from them. If you notice that people tend to make excuses just to avoid you, let them flee from you. That also means that now you know that worldlings are obsessed with control. Stop having a standard routine. If you go to the supermarket every Saturday, stop going to the supermarket every Saturday. Because you develop a pattern and people get attached to that pattern, and one day, if you don't match that pattern, now you have issues with other people. That also means be alert, look around you, and don't wait till circumstances or situations become bad. Just set the piece ahead of you, even when you don't notice any bad symptoms, so that in case something bad unfolds, it's already shut down. The best fight is a fight you've prevented. Be at peace, believers.